Yeah.
Oh, it's been such a long, hard day. I think it's time for a coffee break. Welcome back. How's everyone doing?
I'm doing wonderfully. That was a great little podcast that we just wrapped up with none other than Caleb Cha, World Latte Art Champion.
Cha-cha-cha. How'd you feel about that one, Liam? Did it inspire you from your little etch boy days of having a little pen and drawing little suns?
I mean, you guys did. The word etch came up and my little ears went, and then,
oh my God.
It did. But then he didn't go into it. And then he showed us why, because he can free pour.
Yep, did that amazing seahorse at the end off camera. Maybe we'll post it up onto the story so you can see those latte art skills coming from him. But yeah, what an amazing story. I thought that was a great guest reco from you, Ben, because it touches on so many steps of their professional career journey that a coffee enthusiast can kind of have.
Yep.
And I thought there was so much to learn, and it was really interesting. I mean, one thing that kind of jumped out was his he got hit by that Rona, that COVID. What did he say?
COVID lockdown.
City shop that 98% drop. And Melbourne was brutal. People were trying to do little at-home kits and all this kind of stuff. But for coffee, all you can really sell is coffee beans for at-home stuff.
Yeah.
So which is why he got into roasting. So I really loved his takeaway of the 3-year dilemma. I don't know if that's his thing or if that's from a book or something where it's you're going to have a career crisis at the end of every 3 years. So goal set, make that. We talked about it on our 2026 coffee break of just setting those goals and having something to kind of aim for and work towards.
Yeah, I really like that too. I think he kind of had a nice balance because on one hand he was saying, look, every 3 years you're going to have some kind of career crisis, or maybe you should be having a career crisis. And this kind of thing of don't stop, stretch yourself, because if you just have complacency, you're not going to get anywhere. Your career won't progress. And also you could just burn out. But on the other hand, he also had this outlook of just start. You don't need to do it perfectly. You don't need to kind of master the art of whatever you're trying to head towards, but start it and you already have 50% success.
Yeah.
And I kind of liked that balance.
Yeah, absolutely. And his just idea of mindset was a big thing of just be I can do it. I will do it. And when you put that energy out into the world, it kind of, comes back in spades. And as much as that can sound hippy dippy, whatever, I think there is just a reality to it of your mindset of if you say it out loud and you put it out there, you're more likely to follow through and, do it. There's some crazy stat where it's if you literally just say the words out loud, I'm going to do something, you're 70% more likely to actually do it.
Yeah. I mean, I think we really wanted to do this episode because we've been having lots of great conversations, lots of great guests on who are talking about, processing or maybe about roasting techniques. But we know we've got a lot of exceptionally passionate and skilled baristas who listen into the podcast and who are part of our community. And we wanted to kind of go, okay, what's the pathway for those folks? How can they progress both their skills but also their vision for a career in coffee? Because sometimes it's difficult to see what those paths are. I think it's actually one of the weaknesses of our industry sometimes is that you start off as a barista, but the vision for where you can go as the next steps or the pathway towards a long-term career is often really hard to figure out.
And a lot of the time you find a lot of people and they feel like their boss wants to tell them what's next for them.
Yes.
And they don't have any idea themselves of what's next for them. It's don't wait for someone else to tell you. It's they're crazy busy. You need to have those goals. And yes, use your boss and go to them once you have that and try to get them to help you with that path. But don't just sit there making coffees every day and expecting oh, well, I want a promotion. Promotion to what?
Yep.
What is it that you want to do?
Exactly.
How was him just pulling out I love that we're just sitting there having a lovely chat and then he's talking about baristas and workflow and he's if I had a gun with one bullet in it and there was Kim Jong-un and there was an untidy barista, I'd shoot the barista. How was that? And I was also like, I'm like, are we going to get like stopped by like Spotify or YouTube with this one? It's like, can you say that stuff anymore? I don't know if you can talk about like unalived and like all that kind of that chat. So we'll see how that goes with the censorship on those ones. But I do agree with what he's saying. I think one of the biggest things that you can have as a barista is cleanliness, clean workflow, clean machine.
Yep.
All of those things, some of the biggest things you can do to make good tasting coffee and consistently good tasting coffee.
Yeah, and he noted how much like the World Barista Championship format and workflow and that preparation for a competition stage where every movement counts, every positioning of your equipment and the workflow will count towards a very limited time, and how that helped crystallize things for him in the cafe as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's some critical skills. I think that's the idea, that as you want to progress as a barista, is thinking about, well, what are the areas that are either new to you? How can you learn some new techniques or get some new information? Or how do you refine what you're already doing to become faster, more efficient, more consistent, improve the results? And so I think like focusing, they could be like mini goals that you set for yourself.
They should be.
Like, okay, how do I read a docket line and prepare multiple drinks really fast? How do I learn how to dial in a coffee more efficiently?
Mm-hmm.
How do I kind of pour in between takeaway cups that are a different shape and diameter and dine-in cups?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think there's some cool little skills that people can learn there.
Now, Ben, you would have had a lot of friends open cafes and start places. I've had a few, and it's always a different journey for everyone, and I'm sure it's something that a lot of people think about. So Caleb told us his story, but I thought it'd be cool if we actually explored some others so people could look at the different ways of maybe starting a business if they're maybe a barista or working in coffee at the moment. So Caleb kind of broke down. It was cool that he was like honest with us, and he was like, I had $10,000 to my name. It wasn't a huge amount. I would say that I don't think Caleb did enough kind of background before diving in, which is sometimes good. Sometimes you have to go in and make the mistakes.
He would agree with.
Right? Yeah, he would agree with, because he was like, I got a place that I thought was good, and in my mind I was like, oh, it'll take $10,000 to fix up, and I've got that. And then he rented it, and they're like, it's a $10,000 deposit, and then he was like starting from nothing. He was in a position where he had to go and ask friends, and luckily it sounded like he had some like rich mafia friends or something that were like, I don't know, like they were just dropping off money to him, but he paid it back in 6 months with success. So that was amazing. Also, I was laughing at the fact he thought he needed 10 grand and he needed 130 grand to get it up and running. We talked to Chris Mabry, who would have spent a bomb on Beta Coffee setting up that. But what are some other ways of starting a cafe? Like looking at maybe like different starting points of very little money to maybe they've saved up a little bit.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. And each market around the world is so different to where the expenses will kind of come from. Like some cities or countries are going to be more expensive for lease, and others it's going to be more about the equipment costs and or labor that's kind of there. So I think we talked about with Caleb is, if you're a barista who is wanting to start your own cafe, the first thing I would say is don't jump from barista to cafe owner. Try and get some experience managing a cafe or working closely with your cafe owner where you're working to learn the ropes of it. Because there are so many skills that you need, so much awareness that you need, that is not something about actually making coffee. Making coffee is great. It's important. But as Caleb said, knowing the numbers, knowing how, the areas of consideration, like, oh, I've got my suppliers, I've got, my legal kind of situation, I've got like staffing management, all of these skills that are around there, and certainly the finances. But I would say you could start off as on a small venue that's city-based where you're kind of really focusing just on coffee, which is probably a safer space, coffee and a little pastries, less fit-out costs, less staff, less overheads. Great way to kind of learn the ropes of business ownership.
Yep.
Then you could definitely kind of step up to a larger space, always looking at the fixed costs that are going to really look at your operating kind of profit there. So your lease, your power, again, your staffing. If you've got a large venue and you're doing any food or table service, you're going to have people that you need to be paying just to turn things over. But also the size of the space, people often forget, as I think Caleb kind of almost noted, is there's the setup costs. So your establishment costs that you need to have capital for when you take over or start a new business. And then there's your operating costs. And so the operating model is one thing. It's like, how many cups am I selling? You know, what price are they? How many customers am I likely to have? What hours am I open? You know, how many staff do I need? So you kind of like day to day, this is the money incoming, this is the money outgoing, and do some stress testing on that, right? Is going, well, what happens if it's a really slow day? What happens if there's a public holiday and suddenly I'm doing 30% less? Am I losing money that day, or kind of where is that at? But then you have your setup costs, and that's really built on the per square meter or per square foot kind of basis. Is like, how much infrastructure is already at your venue that you have to fit out. It's kind of like if you go and buy a house, or it's the same idea. It's like you go in and you're like, oh yeah, it's got 4 walls, it's got floors, great. But what are the big cost black holes? I'm going through like a never-ending renovation at my house, and it's the things like, oh, there's rising damp, or what's the air conditioning kind of system, or oh, glazing. Wow, that's freaking expensive.
Yeah.
So kind of thinking when you do a setup, risks there for setting up a new cafe that could be surprise major costs. So before you sign on the dotted line, okay, is there something there could be a sneaky $30,000 investment just to fix up?
Yeah. I do like the pop-up mentality as well as like a testing ground. And by pop-up, I don't mean it's like a weekend pop-up or doing that, but like my friend started Stefanino Panino here as a panini shop. He started where he found a place that was up for rent, and the whole premise was they're knocking down the building in 6 months or a year. And they were just like, we just want to make a little bit of money out of it while it's here. It was just to basically walk in with a bench and that was it.
Yep.
And so I think he was paying like $600 a month or something, nothing. Like basically the cost of rent is nothing. And he got to test it out, and bang, it was a hit. Line out the door, people coming in. It gave him a little bit of he saved money to then be able to go and have a permanent residency and do a little fit out and all that kind of stuff. And also just like made him feel confident that he could do it and that it was there. There's another place near us. Is it Tortas and Tacos or like whatever it is, where they started as, it was a permanent location, but they just bought a truck, like a little van thing, put it at the permanent location behind a hurricane fence, like behind a wide fence, worked out of there. Now they've got a permanent shop, you know, a few blocks from where they started. So that kind of approach can be nice as well, to kind of get a feel for it. What do you think about the operations where someone's a manager of a cafe and then the boss, there's kind of that arrangement where it's like, we'll open a new venue and I'll give you 10% or 20% with this buy-in or whatever it is. What do you think about those kind of situations? Like, do you think that they're successful, or do you reckon they could be fraught with a bit of danger?
I think that they can be a positive move for like a barista or a manager who wants to kind of get further into that ownership space and business kind of management space without risking all of their own money. Yeah. Right.
There's probably less reward, but less risk, right? You've got an infrastructure behind you. You've got money being invested behind you. And you've kind of got, if the place you're working is successful, maybe the idea that we can bring some of that success across.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're going into like, I guess there's different models that you can agree with. And it can be a really great pathway. I've kind of talked with a lot of different cafe owners or entrepreneurs like restaurateurs who will go to open a new venue, and each time they open, they'll hold like a core ownership of it, but they'll offer like to their lead people their part ownership, part equity of the place. And it can be a really great win-win. You know, the cafe, the majority owner gets like a really dedicated person on the ground who wants to make it successful. And the person on the ground, the manager, the co-owner gets some stake in the game towards the success. It's really great to kind of get that sweat equity almost going. But there, you need to kind of think about what the outcome is that you want to achieve from both parties, and what may be success, but also what exit clauses look like.
Yeah,
because you don't want to be chained to it if it's not working. So what's the healthy way for both parties to kind of say, look, this isn't kind of working. How do we resolve this and exit? So,
and I mean, that's where it's the scary side of it, right? Where you have people who know how to run businesses, who are, they have a bit more of an upper hand on you in that legal side of things. So I know everyone feels like they're your friend, but at the end of the day, it's a business and money makes people do funny things. So make sure that you have someone to look over those contracts. Make sure you have people with experience looking out over those contracts. Because I'm sure there are a lot of people listening right now who have done one of the 3 examples or 4 examples that we're talking about. So it's actually probably great. Please, if you, as someone who's done any of those cafe startups, write in and let us know your experience. Or if there's anything you'd like to share as a bit of a watch out or a maybe try this to help out our listeners, we'd love to read those out.
And I think if you're listening to this and you haven't already, a previous episode that we did in 2025 with Colin Harmon is another great
and
resource.
Read his book.
Yeah, read the book, What I Know About Opening Coffee Shops.
So there's 2 sides, right? There's if you're new to it as a barista and want to own just an individual one, his original book is about everything I know, what I know about running a coffee shop. And his new one that should be out by now is about
building coffee businesses, kind of the broader scaling and roasting and kind of it as a bigger entity. Yeah, I think that's a great episode to kind of listen to. And in fact, his model was another approach to starting a venue where you find a hospitality venue that isn't in use during cafe hours. So he started actually in a nightclub and got really cheap / free rent in the daytime.
So similar to what I was saying before with us,
definitely. Keep the risk really low. So yeah, that's another good episode to go with. But look, it was so good having Caleb in here. He's such a humble guy.
Yeah.
And he's always kind of learning and seems very happy to share that experience. He won the world championships.
Yeah.
But he's still like, no, what can I do? What can I figure out? So yeah, it was really some great insights in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And the roasting side of things too. That for me, that almost would feel like a scarier step than running the business getting into that and like all the nuanced things. And I mean, I guess as someone like Ann Cooper probably fills you with a bit more confidence. She's someone that I feel like it's like once you get these basics down, you can then start evolving. There are, like anything, just these rules that we need to follow and you'll get a pretty decent result. And then assess that nuance and just doing it over and over and over again. But he did it. You don't have to go out and buy all the gear. There are plenty of roasteries. Like there are too many roasteries where the roastery is probably sitting there days not being used. So I'm sure there are places where you can go learn from. We had Caleb. He went to A Coffee. He went and roasted out of Zest.
Little specialty place.
So there'll be places where you can go and learn. Most people in the coffee industry want to share their knowledge. In fact, they don't want to shut up. Just like us. So people will always be warm and welcoming, I think, and really help you out if you're wanting to take that roasting journey.
Yeah. And I think also remember that you don't have to. If you're a barista and you're looking to it, this is the benefit. You can, partner with a great professional business, a roasting business that can provide you all of that support and focus on kind of the other elements that you're learning. And yeah, as you say, if you do want to start dabbling into roasting, don't feel like you have to go from 0 to 100. Start practicing, start training, start learning, trial on really small scale. And there's so many shared or collaborative roasting spaces now around the world, whether it be Pulley Collective in New York or like Criteria Coffee here in Melbourne or, so many different places kind of popping up that you literally are set up to allow you to come in and just rent the space, rent the expertise.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that brings us to the end of another coffee break. I'm just going to put it out there again from the launch date of this. We got Daddy Hoffman coming on the pod. It'll be funny if something falls through and then I'll just keep on ranting up about it.
It's like a return tour.
If you have any questions that you want to ask or anything that's like budding that, you want to get the King of Coffee to answer, please email us at hello@itsjustcoffeepod.com. Also, if you had any of the advice from you trying to start a coffee business or anything that you wanted to share with us, we'd love to read that out on the pod. If you enjoyed these episodes, please share it with a friend and find us on the socials. It's just coffee.podcast.
We just keep forgetting our own handle.
I mean,
you just the search
because
function
the
works.
world, even when I was Caleb, when we were on there and we asked for his website, he gave us a www. I'm like, I can't remember the last time I heard someone say www. When doing a website. http:// ding ding ding.
But you can find us. If you want to find us, we're out there at It's Just Coffee. We're going to be out there a lot around the world this year, which is going to be excellent, meeting all of the broad community that are out there.
Dubai, first on the list. Are we looking at was it San Diego? Where are you going?
Yes, World of Coffee Dubai first up. It's going to be great to see what the coffee community is doing there. Then we've got the Melbourne International Coffee Expo would be up after that in March. World of Coffee San Diego in the US in
So many
April.
worlds, so many coffees. We'll be
Lots of
going
stuff.
around.
We'll be there.
Thank you for listening in. Liam, take us out with a little song.
On the spot.
Kumbaya, my Lord. Kumbaya.
Hey.
Kumbaya, my Lord.
Throw it back.
Kumbaya.
Hey. We'll see you next time, guys.
So beautiful.
Ciao,
everyone. Kumbaya. Don't go anywhere. We're going to have a quick word from one of our sponsors, Apex Lab. Elevate your coffee experience with Apex Lab Mineral Concentrates. Apex Lab's precision-engineered formulas, including tonic, jam, and lilac, are designed to enhance the coffee's natural flavors. Not going to change it, it's just going to enhance it. It's going to bring out the vibrant acidity, the rich sweetness, or if you use lilac, it might bring out those delicate floral notes that you've been looking for. Trusted by world-class cafes and even barista champions, Apex Lab helps you unlock your coffee's full potential. Discover more at apexlab.com. Wait, where was that again, Sonam?
The internet.
Oh, okay. Thought he was going to say the website. Thanks.
We put so much effort into our espresso, dosing, distributing, tamping, weighing. But then in so many cases, a cafe will just take whatever milk they happen to have available and throw it in and call it a day.
I know, and milk actually makes up 70% of all coffees ordered. So you could argue that great milk is just as important as great coffee.
Definitely could argue that.
Oh, I couldn't, I did.
Our great sponsors of the podcast, Riverina Fresh, have a milk that is made for coffee specifically, and it's used by some of the best cafes around the country and, in fact, world barista champion.
Yeah, this gold range that they actually have here was designed alongside a world barista champion to be richer and more indulgent to pair perfectly with coffee.
If you want to check it out, they are doing a sweet deal for Australian-based cafes, and you can get a free trial.
That's exactly right. You can get a free trial straight to your door. Just head to riverinafresh.com.au and see if your cafe is eligible. And why wouldn't you? Serve up the same milk as world barista champions. Today's episode is brought to you by our amazing sponsors at Eco Barista. The reason I sound like this is because they got massages at our stand at Mice, and so I'm getting a massage while recording this message for you. They're the best sponsor of the pod that we could have had. They have the best eco products. This probably sounds really pornographic, but it's not. I'm just getting a massage. They have the best eco-friendly coffee products. They got coffee bags that you can design yourself. They got cups, they got iced coffee cups. They got everything you need. So make sure to support them because they support us. Head to ecobarista.com.au and get 15% off your first purchase when you sign up. Oh, mama, that's good.